What if the peaceful life you built was just a ticking time bomb? Tone and Diem thought they had found paradise on their quiet farm, until a brutal secret from Diem's past resurfaced, bringing death, threats, and shadows that refused to stay buried. Now, their love faces a deadly storm as a ruthless Mafia hunts Diem to silence her forever. Will Tone be able to protect the woman he loves? Subscribe to our channel now and follow this gripping, emotional battle for survival, where love, courage, and danger collide in every heartbeat. Let's dive into their story. On the gentle hills of the countryside, where the sun dipped lazily into the horizon, Tone and Diem wandered hand in hand through rows of blooming flowers. The air was scented with lavender and wild roses, and the golden light of dusk painted everything in soft, romantic hues. Diem's laughter echoed, light and carefree, as she playfully tugged at Tone's arm, urging him to chase her between the tall sunflowers. For a brief, fleeting moment, all her worries vanished. Here, with him, life felt like a dream too sweet to be real. They stopped by a small wooden bench under a sprawling oak tree, where the world seemed to slow down just for them. Tone brushed a stray strand of hair from Diem's face, his eyes reflecting a tenderness that made her heart flutter. "I wish we could stay like this forever," Diem whispered, her head resting gently on his shoulder. Tone smiled, his arm wrapping protectively around her waist. "We will," he promised, his voice low but full of conviction. "No one can take this peace from us." The days at the farm had become their sanctuary. Tone had built this place with his own hands, but it was Diem who filled it with warmth and laughter. They spent mornings feeding the animals, afternoons tending to the garden, and evenings sharing stories under the starry sky. Each moment together stitched new memories into the fabric of their love. It was a simple life, but for Tone, every glance from Diem, every touch of her hand, made it richer than any treasure. There was a gentleness in their rhythm, as though the world outside the farm no longer existed. Tone watched Diem dance barefoot on the dewy grass, her dress flowing like waves of silk, her hair catching the golden glow of the setting sun. She was his light, his peace after years of toil and solitude. In her eyes, he saw not just love but a future, quiet, enduring, and full of promises yet to be written. As they sat watching the sky turn shades of purple and crimson, Diem turned to Tone and asked, half jokingly, "What if trouble finds us here, in this little paradise?" Tone chuckled, brushing his fingers against her cheek. "Then I'll fight it. I'll protect this place, and you." She smiled, comforted by his words, never truly believing that danger could breach the serenity they had built. But beyond the fields, hidden in the shadows of the dense forest, an old secret stirred. A secret Diem thought she had escaped, a memory she had buried under layers of peace and love. Yet at that moment, under the oak tree, with Tone's heartbeat steady against her ear, she allowed herself the foolish luxury of believing they were safe. She didn't know that the past was already on its way, creeping closer with each sunset, ready to shatter the fragile dream they held so dearly. But safety was an illusion, and by dawn, their peaceful world began to unravel. Tone woke early, as he always did, ready to start the day by feeding the animals. Yet the moment he stepped into the barnyard, his heart froze. The air was thick with the stench of death. Dozens of animals, cows, goats, chickens, lay lifeless on the ground, their bodies twisted unnaturally, eyes wide with terror even in death. A grotesque silence replaced the usual morning chatter of the farm. Tone rushed back to the house, his boots stained with mud and something darker. "Diem," he called, his voice sharp, his face pale. Diem, still groggy with sleep, emerged in her nightdress, her expression changing instantly when she saw the dread in his eyes. "What's wrong?" she asked, clutching his arm. Without a word, Tone led her to the scene. When Diem saw the carnage, her knees nearly gave way. She covered her mouth, eyes wide in horror, the memories flooding back like a dam breaking. The forest. The night she stumbled upon them, those men, their cold eyes, the sound of shovels scraping against dirt. She had watched, frozen behind the trees, as they buried a lifeless body deep in the soil. She'd fled, too afraid to speak of it to anyone, convincing herself that if she stayed quiet, the past would remain buried too. But now the past was knocking on her door. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, and with trembling hands, she pulled it out. A message, from an unknown number. "We warned you, girl. You know too much. Next time, it won't be your animals." The words blurred before her eyes. Her body shook, a mixture of fear and rage twisting inside her. She barely felt Tone's hand steadying her, his voice calling her name over and over. "Diem, talk to me. What's going on?" With a hollow voice, she told him everything, the night in the forest, the faces she never forgot, the lifeless body disappearing under the earth. She had never spoken of it before, not even to herself. Tone listened in stunned silence, the lines on his face tightening with each word. "You should have told me," he said, his voice low, controlled, but burning with fury beneath. "We could have done something. We still can." Diem shook her head, tears spilling freely. "They know where I am, Tone. They found me. They're watching us, probably even now." She glanced around, the fields and trees that once felt like home now seemed like a vast, open hunting ground. Tone clenched his fists, his protective instincts kicking in harder than ever. Someone had dared to invade their sanctuary, to threaten the woman he loved. He wasn't just angry, he was ready to fight back. "They think they can scare you," he said through gritted teeth. "But they've just made their biggest mistake." In his mind, plans were already forming. He couldn't rely on chance, not when Diem's life was at stake. He would fortify the farm, call in his old friend from the city, now a high-ranking officer, and set traps if he had to. But more than anything, he needed to keep Diem close, safe, protected under his watchful eye. The farm was no longer just their haven, it was their battlefield. And Tone vowed that whatever shadows came crawling from the past, he would be the shield that stood between them and Diem. Tone held Diem tightly as she trembled in his arms, her confession lingering in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. The soft morning light that once made the farm glow now felt cold, distant, as though the warmth had been stolen overnight. Tone could feel her fear in every shiver of her body, and it ignited something primal in him, an unyielding need to protect her, no matter the cost. He couldn't bear the thought of those men, faceless and cruel, lurking in the shadows, watching her, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He led her back inside the house, shutting every window, locking every door. But locks, he knew, were not enough. Danger didn't knock, it broke down doors when you least expected. Tone paced the living room, his mind racing. He grabbed his phone and called his old friend Kwong, a trusted confidant who had risen through the ranks to become a respected police officer in the city. If anyone could help, it was Kwong. "Kwong, I need you," Tone said, his voice sharp and urgent. "This isn't just about the farm, it's about Diem's life. She witnessed something months ago, something that's come back to haunt us. I need protection, and I need information. Can you help me?" Kwong's response was immediate and firm. "Send me your coordinates. I'll mobilize a small team, discreet but armed. And Tone, don't let her out of your sight." Hanging up, Tone turned to Diem, who sat curled on the couch, her hands clutching a cup of tea she barely touched. He knelt before her, taking her cold hands in his. "Help is coming. But I need you to trust me. We'll get through this, together. I won't let them take you away from me." Diem looked into his eyes, her own rimmed with tears. "I didn't mean to bring this here, Tone. I should have told you sooner." Tone shook his head, his grip tightening. "You didn't bring this, Diem. They did. And I'll make sure they regret it." He started securing the property, installing cameras, checking the perimeters, even setting up makeshift alarms made from tripwires and bells. Every creak of the wooden floor, every gust of wind outside, made his heart race, but he stayed vigilant. This wasn't just his home anymore, it was their fortress. As the sun dipped once more behind the hills, a heavy unease settled over them. The peaceful glow of twilight was now a prelude to dread. Tone stayed by Diem's side, a protective shadow who refused to sleep. He watched her doze fitfully on the couch, her face pale even in rest. Then, just past midnight, the first sign came, a distant rustling near the barn. Tone's muscles tensed. He grabbed the shotgun he kept hidden in the house, his senses razor-sharp. He peered through the window, barely catching a glimpse of movement too deliberate to be the wind. "They're here," he whispered to himself, his jaw clenched. But he was ready. He had fortified not just the farm, but his will. Whatever monsters emerged from that darkness, Tone had made a silent vow, he would not let them touch Diem. He would stand between her and every threat, even if it meant bleeding for it. For the first time in his life, the stakes weren't just his own survival, they were about love, about protecting the fragile, precious bond they had built together. And as the night deepened, the farm stood not as a place of peace, but as the front line in a war neither of them had asked for, but one Tone was prepared to win.